Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is.
Yeah.
Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is.
No, we don't.
Podcast.
What
We
is
don't
it?
even know what a podcast is.
Who's a pie?
Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is.
Yeah.
Podcast. We don't even know what a podcast is.
Yeah, baby. Big Wax's podcast. Out here doing it again. We back and full of physic, bizitch. That's something I don't normally say. I don't usually say bizitch. I don't think anybody's ever said that because guess what? Wax's podcast is doing it like it's never been done. We taking the podcasting game to higher heights than have ever been established, greater lengths that have ever been traversed, and to deeper and more internally revealing places that any sentimental podcast has ever journeyed to. Anyway, my name is Wax, and I'm your illustrious host of Wax's podcast. As usual, I forgot to do any type of vocal exercises or any type of throat clearing. So right now, I just feel like I have a lot of phlegm, mucus, and of course, instead of not eating dairy, I actually ate pretty much nothing but dairy immediately before I did this podcast. So that's going to be the way I sound throughout this podcast. Anywho, I know it's been a while. I know that I was the boy who cried podcast, the boy who cried piecast. Shout out to Meek Mill on the piecast intro, who many years ago didn't know what a piecast was, and he took that as a positive thing. What's that shit called when it boosts your ego? What the fuck is the word I'm looking for? He wore it on this like term of endearment. Is it a term of endearment? I don't know, but if you want to know what a piecast was, I guess it's 3.14 written on the thing that surrounds your broken leg. That would be a piecast. A statue that was made in the image of an apple pie would be a pie cast. Don't you cast a statue or cast like a mold of a statue with paper mache? Isn't that called a cast? I don't know. Cast with an E on the end is like an old system like that they had of living in England or something like that. The caste system, which I can't remember exactly what it is, but it might be something like the feudal system. A way of organizing society with the lowers and the uppers in terms of classes. Damn! I can't get anything right today. I just keep getting my throat clogged up, and I can't get my brain wrapped around what the fuck I was going to talk about. But I will tell you this. It's a new year. A lot of people say new year, new me. And guess what? This time I'm going to be like a lot of people. It is a new year, and it is a new me. I did yoga this morning. I hadn't done yoga in months because in the month of November of 2025, I was gone on the road. Thank you to everybody who came and saw me at one of my shows, whether it be in Canada, the Midwest, the West Coast, Denver. I did a one-off at the end of the year. Man, I got all kinds of stuff going on inside my body. I just had a leftover pasta meal, which is not really a new year, new me type of meal. My wife Sunday made some shrimp pasta with a cream sauce, and just having that right before this podcast was not a very new year, new me type of lunch. Probably a pretty fatty lunch and full of carbs. But I'm trying to do intermittent fasting. I'm going to lose a couple pounds doing intermittent fasting. I'm not eating except in between noon and 6 p.m. For a while. That's my new thing I'm doing. And I'm going to try to do yoga. If you guys don't know, I do yoga. Been doing yoga for many years now. Some people think it's, some people question my masculinity because it's mostly a female activity. And I will admit, I'm one of the few males in the classes that I go to. I go to yoga class. I can't do yoga at my house, like watch a YouTube video and do it, because I'll just stop after 10 minutes. Whereas if you're in a class with a bunch of people doing it and the class is 60 minutes, I'm not going to walk out like a bitch in the middle of the class. I'm going to make it to the end. Okay? And, yeah. The class is mostly women. And some people say that they question my masculinity, and I will say that today in class, we were doing a section of class. It was a hot yoga class, and there's a section in the middle where they do kind of like an ab workout. Feels like an aerobics activity. And when it got really hard and it got going, the teacher did say something about use your goddess energy. She did say that. There's a lot of feminine stuff in the class, but you know what? I actually like that stuff. I actually like all the feminine energy that is inside of me that I'm able to release in these classes because I'm in touch with all these sides of myself. That's where my music comes from. That's where artistic creativity comes from. Being in touch with what's going on in your internal self. Maybe part of that is God. Maybe part of that is the universe, and we're all connected, and we're all just one living, breathing being. And I wish that more people would maybe think like that. Wish I would think like that more. But I will say that when I'm in yoga class, the teachers say some funny shit, including the goddess, use your goddess energy that she said today. But a funny thing about yoga teachers is they say shit that's like, that probably isn't scientifically proven as if it's fact, which I always enjoy. The thing that I always remember is this was like last year. I was in a class and the lady goes, she's like, a lot of our trauma is stored in our hips. And I was like, I don't know. I took it for fact when she said it too, but I also, of course, in my head was like, where'd you learn that from? How the fuck do you know that she said childhood trauma is stored in our hips? And maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But what was the experiment that you did to figure that out? Somebody moved their hips in some kind of way and they're like, oh, I don't remember it anymore. Or, oh, it came back. Somebody that had blocked out really bad childhood trauma. Maybe they were molested when they were 2 years old and they can't remember it because they blocked it out of their psyche. And they were about to go to court and be a witness and try to put their uncle behind bars or whatever. And they couldn't quite remember the events. And the expert from the defense side brought in somebody who was a yoga teacher. And she had him do what's that shit called? I can't think of words today. I can't think of words. It's something that happens as you get old. What the fuck is that? She had him do pigeon pose. She had the woman do pigeon pose and open her hips up. And all of a sudden she was like, I remember everything now. It was a Thursday night at 12:16. My uncle walked in. He was wearing a red shirt. All the trauma was stored in my hips. Now I remember everything. Just because I did pigeon pose. And I unleashed it from my hips. Some of the yoga teachers that I've had over the years are more matter of fact. Some of them are kind of more like, this is something that happens in your body and we're here to stretch and we're here to move. And some people are like kind of like the more spiritual realm of it, which I enjoy both. I do realize that yoga comes from ancient culture in India, and it's cool that some people actually make some effort to connect the modern bastardized version of white people in San Diego yoga to its roots. But it's funny because like some people like they got they'll mention Sanskrit words, but they also tie it into the fact that Mercury's in retrograde, and then they'll also say that the reason that something's happened is because you're a Libra or whatever. So they'll tie in all these different, your chakra is somehow connected to the zodiac, which is also something that happened in the Bible might even be involved, but it all comes down to, I guess, most of the things that we believe from a spiritual point of view are hearsay, assumptions, and faith, things like that. Anyway, I just like to get in there. It makes me feel good. It's a meditative thing. You lose your sense of you lose your sense of all the nonsense that's going on in your life, and you connect to the current moment, which is done by connecting to your breath, which, some people do through meditation, and yoga is a moving meditation. And it has the added benefits of making your physical body feel good, look good, keep you healthy, And I really, really love it. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. So if you can't fucking bend over and touch your goddamn toes, if you're 40 years old and you're like, damn, I just keep getting more and more stiff, and every morning I wake up and I feel stiff. Don't get me wrong, I do too, but it really, really helps to do yoga. And release your goddess energy. There's a lot of very attractive women in the yoga class, especially if you live in San Diego, and a lot of the dudes, the kind of dudes that I've told I do yoga, are like, yeah, you go in there and see all the hot chicks, yeah. And like, it is true. It doesn't hurt. But I used to go to this one that was in College area in San Diego. I went to the hot yoga class. It was in College area. They have really creative city names here in San Diego. I feel like there's a beach town by the ocean. It's called Ocean Beach. There's a town by the college, and it's called College Area. That's what it's called. Anyway, I had to stop going to the College Area one because of the fact that, like, it's all, like, literally 20-year-old girls, and I just felt creepy in there. Not that I was doing anything creepy. I was just like, yo, these people look like the daughters of my friends now. Like, if I go to a college now and I walk around, it's not like, ooh, look at all these girls. It's like, for me, a girl, I'm like, that's a young, hot girl. Young, hot woman is like 30 now, 32. But anyway, that's getting off topic a little bit. I don't really know where to go today because I've been off of the podcast so long. I want to list them out individually. Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Montreal, Toronto, which they don't say Toronto, say Toronto. Toronto is how they pronounce Toronto. Don't pronounce that last T. People get very mad at you for that. Then I went to Minneapolis, Cleveland, Chicago, Seattle, Portland, Berkeley, Santa Cruz, and Denver. That was the end of the Lifetime Achievement Award tour, and I want to thank anybody who came out to that show, any of those shows, or the shows on that tour from earlier in the year. Man, I did a lot of touring around that album, the Lifetime Achievement Award album. But alas, like sands through the hourglass, or the waves that go continuously in the ocean, or the river current that flows on to the next, spring, summer, fall, and winter, and then it repeats itself. And as it does, I got a new album coming out, y'all. I got a new album that's going to be dropping this year. We're doing it a little bit different this year. It's a collaborative album between me and DJ Hoppa, and it's coming out June 5th. 5th. F-I-F-T-H. 5th. And we're really excited about it. We just announced that it's coming out. And what we're going to do is we're going to release a single every month. So January 16th, we got the first single called She Ain't Mine, which features Little Stranger and Jarve. And then we're going to do a single every month, February, March, April, May. And then in June, on June 5th, the album comes out. But there also will be a focus track. That's a word now. If you release a single from the album on the same day as the album, it's called a focus track. So the album's out, but if you want to focus on a track, the perfect track for you to focus on is the focus track. So I guess there'll be like technically 5 singles and a focus track. So 6 singles basically with the album. So we're about to start dropping them, but I think it's kind of cool. What we're doing this time is we're going to have a countdown page. And you can pre-save the album from now until it comes out in June. And I know a lot of you are like, why don't you just drop it? Like, if it's already done, why don't you drop it like next month? First of all, one of the songs on there, we're still waiting for a feature verse. So it's not technically done. Every song is done, like mixed and mastered except for one song. So we're still kind of finishing the album. We do have the artwork. And now we're just going to drop all these singles and then the whole album in June. So Yeah, do us a favor and go pre-save the album. We're working on a thing where if you pre-save the album, you get a discount code on the vinyl or a discount code on the merch or something like that. We're still figuring out the details of that, but I promise you, if you pre-save it via the link on my website or on the whatever freaking website I'm talking about, there's gonna be a website. You know what I'm saying? If you pre-save it now, you'll still get the whatever goodies we give out for an incentive to pre-save, if that makes any sense. Or you can just sit around and fucking twiddle your thumbs and do nothing. You know, you could just do nothing. Speaking of albums, I got this album right here, the Livin' Foul vinyl. It just dropped at the end of last year. Last year was the 10th anniversary of my album Livin' Foul, and it's now out on vinyl. The vinyl itself, hold up, check this out. The vinyl itself is really cool looking. It's a blue, like tie-dye looking vinyl. And side D of this album, if you get the vinyl, has actually 5 tracks that are previously unreleased. They're all from I think one of them I actually put out as like a bonus track somewhere else, but at least 4 of them are previously unreleased, and they're just like, you know, tracks from the Livin' Foul era that we didn't put on the album. So yeah, there's bonus tracks, free music if you order that. BishopRecords.com. We just dropped that last year. There's still some left. There's not many left, but they're almost sold out. We might make more of them if they sell out. I don't know, because I want to be able to sell them on the road. But that was the first time that was out on vinyl, so this is a little commercial. This is within the podcast ad read for my own album, Livin' Foul, which is now available on vinyl. So go to BishopRecords.com. You can get that or any of my old albums. This new album, the Wax and DJ Hoppa album, is called Highway Hotel. And this is going to be released through Ineffable Records, which is a widely respected independent record label. They specialize in a lot of reggae music, but they're also extending their branches. And they've been recently kind of getting involved in the world of hip-hop. They just did Demrick's album. They did some Dizzy Wright. They got Shwazy. They got Little Stranger on there. And they're kind of branching off into different genres besides reggae. And yeah, me and Hoppa's album is going to come out on that. It's going to be on Ineffable Records, and I'm really excited about that partnership. Everybody over there is really cool and really excited to put out this album. So we'll see what happens. I think the album is awesome. The general theme of the album, which is mostly true, is that we made this album while we were on the road. If you don't know, DJ Hoppa. First of all, DJ Hoppa is a legendary hip-hop producer. He's been doing this shit for years. He's worked with a lot of artists that you've heard of. Go check out his Spotify or wherever you stream music. But Hoppa is it's kind of funny. I hit him up. I needed a tour DJ, and I hit him up to see if he knew anybody. Not thinking that he would actually want to do it himself. And he was like, dude, I'll do it. And it turned out to be an amazing partnership. He's not just a really good hip-hop producer, but he's crazy with like the scratches and just musical talent and rhythmic ability and ability to relate. And like he also has a lot of experience. You know, he used to be the DJ for all the Funk Volume guys, Jaron Benton, Hobson, Dizzy Wright. He's done a bunch of other people on the road too. I don't want to list everybody because I'll forget some people, but he's been a tour at like every venue we ever go to. He's like, yeah, I played here 10 times. And he's just a very experienced performer and a really chill dude. And that's actually the most important aspect of touring that they don't tell you about, is just like people being chill and cool. So most people that you meet that tour that are still doing it when they're older, they have to be like that, because anybody that was an asshole would have either gotten sick of touring before, or nobody would want to tour with them. So if you see somebody that's touring by themselves or touring with new people every time, and it probably says something about them. I don't know, but it's anyway, DJ Hoppa is my tour DJ, and we did so many shows in the last 2 years that whenever we have time off backstage or time in a hotel room, we both discovered like we kind of always like to make music, especially because we have kids at home and we don't get as much time as we'd like to when we're chilling at home to make music. So when we're out, he brings his He brings his SP, we bring a microphone, and we just kind of, he makes beats, and I try to write rhymes and choruses and melodies and everything to the beats. And in the last 2 years, the first song coming out is called She Ain't Mine, and it's with Little Stranger and Jarv. I was touring with Little Stranger and Jarv, and we had a couple days off where we stayed at an Airbnb right outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. It was a really nice place, and we made the song there. So this is an example of one of the songs that really was just truly made on the road, on time. And sometimes when you don't overthink it like that, it's kind of like the most fun material actually comes to fruition because you're not overthinking it. You're just having fun with your friends, and the songs sometimes reflect that, which I think this song does. And a lot of the songs on this album are like that. Like, for example, that song and two of the other songs on the album, Ryan and Justin, who play horns for Little Stranger, happened to be around, and they played on some of the songs too. It's a cool album. It's definitely different from my last project. My last project, Lifetime Achievement Award, is much more chill and much more of a live instrumentation. It's all produced by my boy Koosh. Kind of has like a vintage Beatles kind of thing going on, where this one is definitely, if you went straight from that album to this one, you'd be like, okay, Wax is going way more straight ahead hip hop. But if you're a hip hop fan listening to the average rapper, and you heard this album, be like, damn, this is a really melodic album. So I think it's kind of like, I think me and Hoppa really found the perfect midpoint between my shit and his shit. And we also managed, I would say, way more so than my last album. My last album had no features. This album has a lot of cool features on it. So I'm excited about that, and I think that you guys are going to like this one. And we're going to release 5 singles and a focus track. And then we're going to drop the whole album on June 5th. But we're kind of like, it's kind of old school. We're building hype, I guess. There's going to be a countdown page for like fucking 5 months. I think that's kind of cool. And during that 5 months, I'll try to like make some video content for those songs, and also be working on my next album, which is pretty well into the works, actually. My next album I'm already working on. I'm always working on the next thing. I wish I had more time to work, but the time that I have with my family is priceless. And it's awesome. I got to go up to my in-laws' house over the holiday. My in-laws, my wife's family. And I don't like to talk too much about my family stuff on the internet. So I'll just say that we had a great time, and my daughter got to really play with her cousins. Her cousins here in San Diego, my brother's kids. They're 15 and 14, 15 and 13, something like that. So they're more like uncles almost to her. But up there, her cousins are like, there's a bunch of little kids running around. So she had a blast, and it was really fun. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I don't know why I'm making noises like that, but there's something like the very bottom of my throat just feels like milky. There's some kind of milky substance in the bottom of my throat right now. What it is lobster bisque. My wife made a sauce for the pasta I mentioned earlier by getting Trader Joe's lobster bisque and adding a bunch of shrimp and adding a bunch of other stuff like cheese and onions and tomatoes, and she made it out of a bisque. I don't know exactly where the borderline is when you go from soup to bisque. I think that borderline might actually be not a very sharp borderline. If you think about it, there's a soup and a bisque, and if you mixed a soup, if you did a soup bisque mix, bisque mix is hard. Bisque mix. Yo, that's a good tongue twister. Bisque mix. Bisque mix. Bisque mix. Bisque mix. Bisque mix. I love thinking of new things. I'm sure somebody has already thought of bisque mix before. I just the one I always remember is Unique New York, Unique New York, Unique New York, Unique New York, Unique New York. But that's actually way easier than bisque mix, bisque mix, Bisque mix, bisque mix, bisque mix. You do it yourself. I'll give you some silence. Yeah, if you think about the line between bisque and soup, it wouldn't be a sharp line because there are people, I know in Maryland, you might do a half and half. I think if you ordered a half and half in Maryland, it would be an Arnold Palmer, but they do some kind of thing. I can't remember what they call it. I think they actually call it a 50-50 where like if you go to a seafood restaurant in Maryland, obviously they have Maryland crab soup and then cream of crab soup. Maryland crab soup is a tomato-based soup. It's kind of like Manhattan clam chowder versus New England clam chowder. And if you mix them halfway, you know, there's a viscosity level in the middle there that I don't know where you officially go from soup to bisque. Or, I mean, where does chowder fall into the mix, you know? What's the difference between a bisque and a chowder? I kind of hate that, like, if you were here with me right now and I asked you what the difference between a bisque and a chowder is, I kind of hate that we could just pull up our phones and go, Siri, what's the difference between a bisque and a chowder? And now it's even worse with AI. The AI would actually fucking be able to break it down to you perfectly and then tell you exactly who says that what is what. And, you know, in a couple years, the AI will actually cook you a chowder and bisque in 1.5 seconds and then tell you to eat it. But once you eat it, you'll realize it has anthrax in it because it's part of the AI's plan to take over the entire world. Some people say that when the AI kills us all, there's so many different ways that the AI could do it that I wouldn't be surprised if it was a anthrax-filled bisque. What's the difference between an anthrax-filled bisque and an anthrax-filled chowder? One of them would be an anthrax-filled creamy soup, and the other would be an anthrax-filled cheesy soup. And what's the difference there? Isn't cream and cheese kind of the same thing? They're both a product of milk. Why does a cow have to be involved in your soup? I'm sorry, did I say soup? I meant bisque. Yeah. I really don't know if there's a difference between a bisque and a chowder. Is that just a tomato kind of vibe, or is it a tomato red pepper kind of vibe? Anyway, yeah. They say that the AI, when it takes over the world and kills human beings, the book that I read that was extremely gloomy about the future of AI, they say that it's hard to tell you exactly what it's going to do that makes humanity no longer exist because there's just a billion ways that it could do it. But it seems like a lot of people say that when AI gets really, because they always talk about AI is going to cure cancer. Yeah, it's going to do all these positive things. It's going to cure cancer. But that means it's going to get heavily involved in like human biology. And it would be very, very easy while it's curing cancer to create a fucking virus or whatever you call it that they put in all of our bloodstreams within, you know, the next COVID vaccine or whatever the fuck happens. You know, there's a lot of ways that it could do it. I don't know. But I do know that it's kind of crazy how fast, I can't remember the exact stat, but I was watching this video talking about how many data centers they're building right now. And it was some fucking crazy stat that like basically one gets finished every day. And they were going to this place in Loudoun County, Virginia, where like all the residential because they purposely build these things in residential neighborhoods because they need the infrastructure to have all the water and electricity that's needed for these data centers. And in Loudoun County, Virginia, they said in Virginia has more data centers than Russia, the whole country of Russia. There's more data centers in the state of Virginia than there is in the entirety of Russia. But they're up in Loudoun County, and like they showed these overhead views where like these stereotypical suburban neighborhoods, it's all suburbs of DC, but they showed them, a drone shot from up top, and these neighborhoods are just surrounded by these fucking data centers, and the residents are complaining because you can just hear this hum that's like where it used to be like the sounds of crickets and birds. Like the one guy was saying, he's like, you have to understand, you can't just hear it, you can feel it. You can feel your body vibrating, and it doesn't stop. It's 24/7. My 7-year-old son can't sleep because all he hears is zzz, and his body's vibrating. The other one said that his daughter felt the same thing. The other one said his teenage son, who was going through puberty, kept getting erections because everything was vibrating. Then he started sticking. The erections part was just me trying to be funny. Somebody said, Patrice O'Neill once said that, bad jokes and good jokes come from the same birth, and that's true. That's what a lot of people don't realize about comedy. People would be like, damn, that just shit wasn't funny. You'd be like, yeah, well, I was trying something. Not everything can be funny. If you think that everything can be funny, you probably don't try very hard to be funny, because anybody who tries to be funny, which is me way too often, I'm actually trying to cut down on that. Anybody who tries to be funny often is not. I had this is a fun little story. The only time I really go to the mall is when I'm Christmas shopping. I Christmas shop at the mall. So anytime I'm in the mall, even if it's not Christmas, it feels like Christmas because I really only go to the mall for Christmas. Especially if you're in like the big department store, like, yo, if you smell, I can't, first of all, sidetrack, I can't believe that people work at like that perfume section at Macy's or Bloomingdale's or whatever, that section when you walk in and it's just like all perfume. And when you go through there, you feel like you're in like a fucking biological weapons testing site, a chemical weapons testing site, because you can't believe all the scents that you're smelling. That's another thing AI could do. They could infiltrate the American mall system. They could do the mail system as well. They could do the mail system of the post office, put anthrax or whatever, very old school at this point, anthrax in the envelopes. They could do the mail system, the biological mail system, somehow put biological and chemical weapons in our semen, and then when we impregnate the women, all the new babies will be, I don't know, whatever. They'll just all die. But I was going to say they could infiltrate the mall system. AI could infiltrate the mall perfume section, and every single piece of perfume, where it's made by Guess, all those fucking, or the name of the perfume is Guess by Chanel, or like Invigorate by Calvin Klein, or whatever. All these things that you smell that I guess are supposedly smell good. Maybe some of them smell good on their own, but when you walk through this shit and you get it in your nose, you're like, damn, people who work here every day, this is like, must be pretty crazy how much perfume you're inhaling on a daily basis. But yeah, that is another way that AI could kill us. They could infiltrate all the perfumes. Then everybody that walks through the mall looking for a Christmas present for their girlfriend or their grandmother at Macy's at around December 19th every year, you walk through that little section and go like, oh, I wonder if she'd like and just die. Because AI put some kind of virus in all the perfumes. People are like, what happened? Why is this random swath of Americans dying 3 days after they went Christmas shopping? Well, this one's not dying because they went to Target. Oh, and then all of a sudden they'll see it's only people that went to the big stores. Then all of a sudden they'll realize that it was anybody who went to the perfume section got a virus that kills you 3 days later because it's harder to detect. By the time the scientists figure that out, they'll be dead too by the latest thing that AI put out. Anyway, I was at the mall Christmas shopping. And as you know, one thing that every mall has, it's a pretzel store. And this particular mall, if you don't believe me, it's called Fashion Valley in San Diego. Go right outside the motherfucking, what's that dumb coffee shop called? I don't know, but there's a fucking Auntie Anne's Pretzels in the middle of the mall. It's a kiosk-based pretzel shop, okay? It's not a side store-based pretzel shop. It's not a food court based pretzel shop. It's in the middle of the mall in a kiosk based pretzel shop. And on this particular day when I was shopping, a young lady about 16, 17 years old who was wearing Auntie Anne's pretzel shirt had one of those little trays and a little piece of pretzel with toothpicks all over it. And I brought this up. I'm always like, once you become a dad, you say stupid shit all the time. You just talk too much. Like, you just say things that are like, why'd I even say that? So I was walking by it, and I will say I'm a sucker for Auntie Anne's pretzel, dude. That they do make a quality product over there. And I walked by. Sidetrack again. I got one of the little pieces of pretzel. This time it was a cinnamon, like a sweet based pretzel, off the toothpick, and I ate a piece of it. And I will say, she must have put this pretzel into free sample form because it was a little bit old. It didn't taste fresh and good like Auntie Anne's pretzels usually does. Quite frankly, it wasn't a good advertisement for Auntie Anne's pretzels. It was a free sample that made me not want one, which is very, very rare in the mall pretzel free sample world. Usually it makes you want one, or at least makes you want another couple free samples. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to go into the Gap, and then we'll come back out and get a free sample. All right, then I'm going to go over here into the Van store, just pretending to look at Van stuff, just so I can, like, pass by enough time where it's even somewhat okay for me to grab another free sample. And be like, oh, yeah, I'm still thinking I might get the pretzel, but I need one more taste to fully make the decision. But anyway, there was like a 16 or 17-year-old, like a high school girl giving out these pretzels. And I took a bite of one, and I just like, she was there, and I was like, oh, it's like crack, huh? You give out these samples, and you think someone's going to come back and get the full pretzel. I said it like some dad ass way, like, oh, it's like crack, huh? Give out these samples, someone's going to come back and get the full pretzel. And she just looked at me, and like there was a perfect amount of pause, and she goes, I'm doing this because it's my job. She goes, I have to do this for my job. That's what she said. Sorry, I fucked up the quote. It would have been a better story if I got the quote right the first time. But she goes, I have to do this for my job. Like as if like she'd really been contemplating quitting that day. And like I came up to her and asked her a question as if it was her fucking idea. Her last name is Ann, or first name is Ann the fifth of Auntie Anne's Pretzels. Her great aunt was Auntie Anne, and she actually has a fucking stake in the Auntie Anne's Pretzel Company. And she was part of the idea that was like, I know, we'll give out free samples so people will come back and give pretzels. The reason that she probably cut up the old pretzel and made shitty free samples is because in her mind, she actually she wants the lowest amount of customers possible that day, so her fucking teenage ass can not do any work and just look at her phone and just fucking wait for her time off to come, so hopefully she can go down to fucking, I don't know, what do they got now at the mall? She can go down to Panda Express and make out with her boyfriend. But I said that dad ass thing as if she gave a fuck. Like she was trying to sell pretzels. That's what happens, like, especially for somebody like me that's like owned their own small business for a long time. You start thinking of it from like a Shark Tank perspective. Like, oh, yeah, that's a business technique. That's a marketing technique that they use for this to happen. Oh, I see why they put that sign there. Ha ha ha. And you forget to put yourself in other people's shoes. That's the bigger takeaway from this interaction I had with this high school girl that worked at Auntie Anne's Pretzels in Fashion Valley Mall in San Diego when I was Christmas shopping for a gift for my wife and for my brother. That's the bigger takeaway from that interaction, is sometimes you forget to put yourself in the shoes of other people. This is a story about empathy. I worked at McDonald's when I was her age. And I think when I worked there, like, this is how old I think like the concept of the extra value meal had just came out. And like if a person had walked in there and been like, oh, I see, you they save 50 cents, but they're actually spending more because they didn't just get the sandwich, they got the French fry and the soda. So even though they think they're saving 50 cents, if they would have just bought it individually, maybe they would have just got, they would have just got forget the fries, But you're actually, if they would have done some calculation, and I would have been like, I just work here, I don't care. But the way that she said it was way better because like I made it seem like she had to do, she thought of that, and she goes, I have to do this because I have to. She said, I have to do this for my job. Anyway, put yourself in the shoes of another person. She has to do it for her job. She doesn't work at corporate at Auntie Anne's. She wasn't sitting around thinking like, oh no, this Auntie Anne's pretzels might go out of business and I'm going to lose my job. What am I possibly going to do? How am I going to support myself as a 16-year-old in San Diego? How am I possibly going to support myself if Auntie Anne's goes out of business? I know I'll come up with an idea myself to possibly help them out. I feel like everybody walking by should get a good taste of what this pretzel tastes like. So maybe if they have one bite, they'll be like, you know what? I want a whole pretzels. It's kind of like the crack market. And which by the way, I don't think is true anyway. Like that's like a myth from the 80s that drug dealers on the street like give little kids a free sample, Although dispensaries do that. Just when you sign up for a dispensary, they give you all kinds of free samples and shit. So maybe there is some truth to it. I can't say that I had a lot of crack dealers in my neighborhood growing up, so I don't know what they did. But the concept that like 13-year-old kids walking by, they'd give a free sample so they would get addicted to it is like, I think, a mythical concept from 80s fucking anti-drug marketing. But I said to this girl that it's kind of like crack because you give them a little sample, then they'll come back and then they'll want a full pretzel. To which he replied, I have to do this for my job. So put yourself in the shoes of other people and think about what they actually want. Think about what they actually want. What that girl wants is not to sell pretzels. She wants to sell as little pretzels as possible so she can do as little work as possible. How many times can I reiterate the same point? Reiterate. Bisque mix. Anywho, I hope you're having a good January. You got some good resolutions going? I got some good resolutions going. I want to stave. I think that's the proper use of the word stave. STAVE. I want to stave off of my phone addiction. You know what? If it's not the proper use of it, I don't give a shit. Stave off my phone addiction. Over the past couple months, I've really developed like a very palpable addiction to just staring at my phone. So one thing I'm doing this year is I deleted a couple of the apps that I'm always looking at. It's all like political shit, because let's face it, American politics is so fucking insane right now that it's just downright entertaining. And it occupies not only too much of my time, but a lot of my mental space. I'm noticing myself thinking about some of the stuff in the news more than I think about improving my own life. And I want to improve my own life drastically in the next couple years. So not only do I want to not pay attention to stuff that takes too much of my mental space up, I also just want to feel better. And I feel like, in the last couple months, that this stems from being on tour, too. When you're on tour, there's a lot of time where you're just kind of like in a plane, in a van, at a hotel room, and you just end up looking at your phone, So I'm not going to bring my phone into my room. I'm not going to touch my phone until after I drop my daughter off at daycare. If it's a day where I'm dropping her off at daycare, I'm not doing anything on my phone when I'm with my kid. I'm just going to, I deleted some of the apps that I was always looking at. I reset the algorithm on my Instagram. I didn't even know you could do that. I Googled it, and it's very easy to do. If you get sick of all the shit that your Instagram is showing you, you can just reset the algorithm, and then it's like the algorithm is basically as if you had just signed up. So right now I'm just seeing the people that I follow, and then it throws in a couple like, do you fuck with this? Do you fuck with that? And anything political, I'm making sure to say not interested. I need to take a break from that stuff for a while because let's face it, me thinking about it isn't going to change anything, and I'm not going to all of a sudden, fucking run for office or anything like that. So I'm just going to get away from that. Another New Year's resolution that I got going is I want to lose a couple pounds. I'm definitely fatter than I like to be right now, which, this goes along with putting yourself in other people's shoes. Right now I'm a little over one. I'm at 180. I'm at 180, and I like to be at 165. And of course, when I tell people I'm at 180 and I want to lose weight, my fucking fat ass friends are all just like, 180? I wish I was 180. I haven't been 180 since I was 15, Well, I'm not you. And I have to do this for my job. No, it is good to do it for my job, honestly, because I'm on stage and on camera, so it is good to feel good about yourself and not have your titties flapping around. So I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. That's why I'm doing this intermittent fasting. And the other resolution that I had another New Year's resolution. Besides getting back onto my yoga mat, but that's not really a resolution. That's just trying to get back to where I was at. Oh, man, I had another one, too. I can't remember. It must not have been that important. It's like January 5th, and I already forgot my fucking resolution. So, my resolution, let's make one together. My resolution is to be a little, this actually was the resolution. It was, I want to do my podcast more often, but you know what? I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to kill myself for any reason, but I'm not going to beat myself up if I miss a podcast this week or that week or whatever. But I don't want to go 2 months without doing a podcast, like I'll try to do one once a week, but if I do one once every 2 weeks, I think that's pretty good, And I will try to maybe get a guest on here and there, at least get my brother on here to talk some shit. Anyway, new album coming out, so that's good. Let me see if I got any questions from guests, listeners. All right. Let's do a couple questions from the listeners. Let's start with this one. Sup, Wax? Gene the Bean here. I am once again emailing you in regards to the whole Hallelujah dilemma from your song Reborn. I can't believe we're still on this, Gene. Anywho, you seemed confused about why I would say that Hallelujah is not ahead of Yah. To anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, the past couple podcasts, I've gotten a letter from Gene the Bean who was hating on me because I said ahead of Yah like Hallelujah. In my song Reborn, I say something rendezvous ahead of Yah like Hallelujah, because when you say the word Hallelujah, I'm ahead of Yah is Hallelujah, and he's trying to argue that it's not ahead of it, it's behind it, and Yah is behind Hallelujah. And the way that he, I don't have it here. Hold up. So I have attached an image to this email that explains it in such a way that even a child could understand. Hopefully this helps explain my thought process a little bit. So here's my question to you. After looking at this image, would you still say that Hallelujah is ahead of Yah, or is Yah ahead of Hallelujah? I'm curious to know what you think about the Hallelujah dilemma. I wish I didn't print out his image, but picture this. You're looking at me. Picture two runners. It's a runner here and a runner here. And this runner here, it says Hallelujah, and this runner, it says Yah. And he's saying that the Yah, the runner with Yah, is ahead of Hallelujah because in a race, that person would be ahead. So Hallelujah, he's saying the Yah is ahead of Hallelujah. No, he's saying that it's behind it. I said ahead of Yah like Hallelujah because you say it before it. It's ahead of it. You say it first. It's ahead of it. In his diagram, I would say that the Yah is ahead of Hallelujah if you look at it that way in a racing thing. But when you say a word, you say it from left to right. So if you were writing in Hebrew, I would agree with you, but this is not Hebrew. This is English. If you don't know, Hebrew is written right to left. So No, I mean, I guess I can see what you're saying, but like, if I were to tell you, say one and then two, one comes ahead of two. You would say two is ahead of one. If I said 1, 2, you would say two. I would say ahead of one, like two. That's hard to say because 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3. I said one ahead of two. You're saying you'd said two ahead of one. I don't know. Either way, it sometimes when lyrics make you question them, it's a good thing, and it's good fodder for a podcast, huh, Gene? I still disagree with you. I think when you say hallelujah, I think hallelujah is ahead of Yah because you say it first. Anyway, okay, we got this one from EJ from all over. It's EJ from all over. I've moved so much since listening to the podcast back in the day. I used to listen to you talk mad shit about uninteresting facts on drives back home from college. I love that you brought them back. It's pretty much the only podcast I listen to. It's cool to hear how much you've grown since then as well, and look and see how much my life has changed. Anywho, it's crazy because I was listening to your podcast while making dinner earlier, and then I turned on Lazarus Project Season 1, Episode 4, and then hear your fucking music in it. Once I heard the yeah, I was like, wait, that sounds like Wax. Then you said it. I was like, darn, this is awesome. Proud of you, man. That show is literally rated 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never heard of that show. If my music is on that show, it must be something that comes through a different. It must be maybe it's something that Lack of Afro produced, because I've never heard of that show. I didn't know my music was on that show. Somebody needs to tell me about that shit. Anyway, so question time. What other shows, movies, commercials is your music in? Would be cool to find some Easter eggs of your music, and what's some recent favorite shows or movies you've watched? Recently I watched Home Alone and I watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Those are Christmas movies that happen to be kind of on, and I was like, me and my wife were like, let's watch a Christmas movie. So we watched those two movies. I did watch the show Nobody Wants This because I know somebody that's in the show, and it actually is a really good show. I personally liked season 1 a lot better than season 2, but I did watch that show. I don't really watch movies that much. Like, when I have my opportunity to watch whatever I want, like if my wife goes to sleep before me, I always go to Amazon and see what documentaries they have, because Amazon, as opposed to Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, is really like, they have shit on there. I've talked about this on the podcast before. They have shit on there that's like, it's not quite as shitty as like some dude made a YouTube video, but it's certainly not as good as a Netflix created by a documentary created by Netflix. By the way, I pretty much only watch documentaries, but so they might have a documentary about a band, but the band's not on the documentary. They just have like dudes that kind of went to high school with the band talking about how they were in high school or whatever. There was a Van Halen documentary on Amazon like that. But I did I don't remember exactly what it's called, but I will recommend. There's a documentary about people that believe in flat Earth that I found on Amazon, which I found to be a very interesting documentary. You kind of don't even have to watch the whole thing, but I found it very interesting because, especially in the times we're living in now, it kind of just goes to show you how relatively intelligent people can believe some crazy shit. If you don't think that's true, think about anybody who believes in any, what would be the word for that? Like structured religion, like a religion that actually, if they actually believe in like the stories from the textbooks of religion, anybody who believes that, that's kind of a crazy thing to believe. But this whole flat Earth movement, I had heard of it before. I actually went on a Tinder date with a girl who was a flat earther back in the day. I might have told that story on the podcast too. But really cool person. It was okay. It was some level of chemistry, but at the end of the date, she just kind of like, she went into this mode, It was like, yeah, but everything's not what it seems, right? it's just a shame how we're at a bar, but none of these people know. Isn't that crazy? None of these people know what's really going on. I'm like, what? And then she went into that shit. But it was just an interesting documentary because there's people that believe in this flat Earth shit that are relatively intelligent seeming. They're not like complete morons, but they've been somehow convinced. And what's really interesting about it is like once you're in the club, you don't want to get out. It's like being a sports fan. There's two guys in this flat Earth documentary that like they consider themselves scientists and they do experiments to prove that the Earth is flat. So they basically do experiments where you go like, well, if this happened, that would prove that the Earth is round. And there's one experiment they did. It had something to do with a gyroscope. Like if you put a gyroscope on a boat, if you make it so like the boat stands exactly still, they did some kind of calculation where they're like, well, if the Earth is round, then in an hour and a half, this would be 15 feet to the left or whatever it was. They did something that was very specific that like, okay, well, if the Earth is round, this would happen. And exactly what they said would happen if the Earth is round happened. Like they proved themselves wrong. They proved that the Earth is not flat. They proved that it is round. But they were like, nah, fuck that. And they just threw the experiment out. And it just goes to show you that like once you want something to be your way, once you're on the team, you'll kind of poo-poo any evidence that supports that you're wrong, you know? So obviously this comes into play with people that are on one side of politics, the most obvious being people that fuck with Trump, that think that whatever he does is right, and there's no saying anything to get these people out of this cult. So there's a million videos out there that kind of prove that point, and that point can be proven by people on the opposite side of politics as well. By the way, that people will just believe whatever they're supposed to believe. If you're on this team, you believe this. They could do an experiment with that. They could like find algorithmically like websites for somebody that believes in this, that, or that, and they could just pump some new fucking false information and record that people now believe that's the case. But what I think is very in the same wheelhouse as that is, you know, I live in San Diego, and a few years ago, the San Diego football team, the Chargers, they left San Diego and they moved to LA. They're now the LA Chargers. And LA is like the rival city of San Diego. All the people from San Diego are people that swear by San Diego. They all hate LA. That's like that's the rivalry, San Diego versus LA. People hate on LA to me, and I'm like, I like it up there. Anyway, point being, the team left. But all these people that are in San Diego that have a Chargers jersey and a Chargers hat and have been rooting for the Chargers for years, they just still, now they root for the LA Chargers, you know? They didn't quit the team. I mean, this team deserted them. They said, fuck you, we're leaving. And they're still a fan because they don't know how to change it's too scary to change your life, you know? That's why people don't leave their religion more. I mean, some people do, but it's not often. I'm sure there's some Chargers fans out there that threw away the hat and maybe now they're fucking Broncos fans or whatever other random team there is. But I mean, I guess you could argue that they decided to be a fan of the closest team, and the closest team is now the LA Chargers. Who knows? Maybe they still make the trek to the stadium. Maybe I'm being off base here, but they completely ditched the city of San Diego, and people are still fans because they're too scared to get rid of something that is essentially a religion. If you know people that are really into football, it's more than a religion. There's millions of men in America who are Christians and football fans, and if you really like did a breakdown of the time they spent both in their life and in their mental life by themselves, like how often do they think about football and how often do they think about Jesus? Football is more of a religion than religion. So to go from every car you've ever owned has a big bolt on the back of it that's what the Chargers have, a lightning bolt, to just taking that all away and starting from nothing. Like, people don't do it. They just remain a fan. Anyway, why the fuck did I start talking about that? Because I was recommending the Flat Earth documentary on Amazon. Thanks to EJ from All Over. I'm gonna look up this Lazarus Project thing. Maybe I'll report back to that on the next podcast. I'm not up on that. There are some times when I don't know that my song is in a movie or something, because it's usually this one. I have a bunch of songs that I did with Lack of Afro in the UK that like they'll get placements and I don't even know about it. But then then a few times people tell me that my song's in a movie, then I'll watch the movie. It's like, oh, this is just like a song that kind of sounds like it's me, you know? I do have songs in movies. I have songs in a bunch of television commercials. If you go to, there was the publishing company that I used to be with called Big World Publishing. If you look up Big World Publishing and find their website, if it still exists, which I think it does, and you just go to like examples of all the stuff that they've done, you find a lot of Wax and Herbal Tea stuff, like in like beer commercials and Spotify ads, like all kind of worldwide shit. We're in the MLB baseball game for one thing. Separate of that company, my song "Dreamin'" was in an Adam Sandler movie. It was the Father of the Year. The Happy Madison intro has my right off top. If you watch that movie on Netflix, you only have to watch the first minute. You don't have to go find it. Like the intro whole minute of that movie, Father of the Year, is my song "Dreamin'." I've had a bunch of other ones too. What was the most recent one? My song "Never Thought I'd Be in Love Again" was in a Netflix show. But I used to get a lot more than I do now. The gravy train of Big World Publishing, once they sold that company to Centric Music, that gravy train kind of ended. So if you know anybody that's a music supervisor, show them my shit, you know? I could always use more of that. Okay. This is from Sonny P. Mann, formerly from Essex. Formerly. Hey, Big Wax, a.k.a. part-time podcaster. Great to have the podcast back, man. Question for you to potentially rant about for 5 minutes. Was watching your YouTube shorts as I love the Otis McDonald freestyle. Glad you liked that one. Anyway, I was watching the short for the shit I used to do, and it got me wondering if you now suck at skating, as you're old now, or if you was never a great skater in the first place. That's an interesting question, Sonny P. I actually was a pretty fucking good skateboarder when I was younger. My high school and some of my college years, I really, really spent a lot of time skateboarding. If you want to gauge how good I am, keep in mind this was a different time. Skateboarding has advanced to crazy heights. And there's levels to skateboarding. I think skateboarding is a good thing for a kid to get into just because it teaches you a lot about life. Like, just to learn to ollie and then to learn to kickflip, even if you get to that level, you have to have something that a lot of people don't have. Some people don't have the ability to do something that just takes a long time to learn. It could be the same with learning to play an instrument or learning to be good at anything, you know? But you know, some things that you learn to get good at, let's take playing basketball. I mean, obviously if you're going to get really good at it, you have to do like fundamentals and drills and stuff. But if you just played a game of basketball on a court, like if you just played pickup games every day, and inevitably you would get good. But skateboarding is a little different because like the process of learning how to do an ollie is not really fun for anybody. It's just like you're just trying to progress so you can hopefully like make skateboarding more fun. But the process of learning how to ollie, I would argue, is not really fun for anybody. But it takes a long time to get there. It takes a long time to learn. And I think that if you have the patience and if you have what it takes to get even if you can get to the level where you can kickflip in skateboarding, you will probably do well in life. And the level that I got to, I could do a bunch of shit. I was really solid doing. I could land hard flips every time. I could do frontside kickflips. I could do. I was very good at. They call them. When I skated, they were called frontside shove it heel flips. Now they're just called varial flips, I think. Some of the names change. When I was a frontside shove it with a heel flip which I believe now they just call a varial flip. The other word is an inward heel flip. I could do inward heel flips too, especially I was really good at fakey inward heel flips. I didn't really grow up with a lot of ramps. You know what I mean? It was like a different time in Maryland. Like you'd have to drive hours to find a skate park. So we just skated on curbs and ledges. And, I could do, we had a manual pad. I could do a kick flip and land in a manual and go across the manual pad. I could do a 180 to switch manual. I could do a half cab manual, backside 180 out. I was good at backside 180s in general. I could do frontside board slides. I could do Smith grinds pretty good. I was a beast if I on the right obstacle. I was a beast at a frontside lip slide. I just go really, really fast and do a lip slide. I could do some shit. I wasn't very good with switch. I could do switch pop shove-its. I could do switch backside and frontside 180s, but I never got good at like nollie and switch stuff. I never did 360 flips, tray flips. I never did them. I might have landed like one or two on a bank, but I never mastered that. But I could do kick flips pretty much every time. I could do heel flips. I could do backside and frontside 180 kick flips. And I could do like the backside 180 kick flips where like you do like a 90 degrees and then when you land it, go like you like slide it. I was pretty good just because like we spent a lot of time. A lot of my downtime was skateboarding when I was in high school. I pretty much skateboarded and I played music. That was like the thing I did. Very, very typical. Almost every musician that I meet nowadays, especially rappers, has some type of skateboarding background. It's interesting. It's almost 100%, dude. Okay, so yeah, I was good, and I can still do a kickflip, but now it's like, it's not that I've gotten bad, it's that I've gotten like really, really timid and fearful because I don't want to hurt myself. Like if I land wrong, my lower back is fucked. Also a follow up from last week where Puya said to give a little life update. So in the 6+ years, I need to. By the way, anybody listening to this. I need to catch up on these emails. There's a few people that sent me life updates. Maybe next week I'll do the life update emails on the podcast. 6+ years since the last email I sent. I got married, moved from southern England to Scotland, and slowed my pace of life, which has been eye-opening. Also in the process of buying our first house, which is super exciting. Congratulations on that, Sonny. I hope you continue with the pod as your mundane ramblings are great for killing the workday. Stay safe out there. I appreciate that, man. It's always kind of a trip that people listen to. I mean, first of all, the music, but even more so the podcast. I mean, Puya's from Iran, and you're from Essex and now live in Scotland. It's a trip to me that people listen from that far away, and I'm just sitting here in my little townhouse in San Diego saying all this nonsense. So, man, thanks for listening, and thanks for the question. beatsforwax@gmail.com, by the way, if you want to send a question. I think next week I'm going to do a long set. I'm going to catch up on all the emails that I've got. It's not that crazy, but there are some that I missed for sure. And send some new ones. Hey, Wax, this is the last one I'm going to do today. This is from Unfortunately Rob. Hey, Wax, you killed it last night. First, I just wanted to say thanks for doing a Canada tour. I got this email a while ago when I was in Canada. I hope it all went well for you and you enjoyed your time here. Not a lot of artists have Canadian dates on quote-unquote North America tours. So on behalf of all Canadians, we are super thankful that you could make it out here. Man, the crowds in Canada were so awesome and so friendly and so happy to be there and so energetic. It was amazing, man. Every single city I played, it's interesting because I see that you're about to mention the Montreal show. That was by far the least attended show. There wasn't as many people at that show, especially compared to the Toronto show, but it was the least attended out of all the Canada shows, and it still had this really, really fun energy to it. It was so cool to be. I can't wait to come back, and I can't wait, man. It was so much fun. I'm gonna do some things differently on my next Canadian tour, but it has nothing to do with the shows themselves. It's just like, man, we had some times where it's like we had a few shows in a row where we had like 6 a.m. flights, and it's like I have like boxes full of merchandise, my guitar, all my equipment. Hoppa's got his 2 turntables, which are heavy as shit. We have all this stuff we're lugging around in like negative degrees weather. And, we finish the show. We finally go to sleep at 3 a.m. and the flight's at 6:30. So we get 1 hour of sleep. We're dragging luggage through the snow, hoping to get to the flight in time, and then we go to the next city. And it just like doing literally that three days in a row. It's like by the third day, it's like you're like, yo, we're human beings. We require sleep. So I'm gonna do the next time I come up to Canada, which we're already thinking about when that's gonna be. I'm definitely gonna come up there to do some stuff after me and Hoppa's album comes out. I might do more cities, but also have more time in between shows. You know what I mean? Like take a little bit more time and treat it a little bit more leisurely, because it was fucking grueling, man. It was a grueling week and a half or whatever. I know that sounds like, how can only a week and a half be grueling? But if you have 4 days where you don't sleep, and it was a lot, man. But it was really, really fun, and the shows themselves were as good as shows could really be. Okay, so secondly, I've never been to a show like that before, though admittedly I've never been to a hip-hop show before either. The way you were walking through the crowd rapping and having the crowd finish the bars was pure magic, and I will never forget that. I've been to maybe even hundreds of concerts in my life, but that Montreal show has to be my all-time favorite. That's crazy. There was so much love and positivity in the air, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. Can't wait for the new album with DJ Hoppa, and I look forward to the next time I can catch you on tour. Well, I appreciate that, Rob. I can remember that Montreal show very, very well, and there was a lot of positive energy there. And I always walk through the crowd. Maybe, if I do have more success, maybe I wouldn't be able to do that. But I like the level I'm at now, because even at a show where it's crazy, I can still walk through the crowd and I look for people who are rapping along, and I like to give them the microphone. And I always like to make the crowd feel like the show is for them. I don't go to Canada and do shows for my own enjoyment, even though I do enjoy it. The point for me of doing live shows is that I'm there to entertain you. So, for example, I always want to do the songs that people want to hear. You're up there in Montreal. I've never even been to Montreal before. Like, I want to know what you guys want to hear. I want to do what you want to do. When I get up on stage, I try to talk to everybody in the crowd. I learn people's names. I have interactions. I come out in the crowd. If you're singing it, I like to put the microphone in front of your face and have you finish the line. Sometimes that's a little selfish, though. Sometimes that's for my own enjoyment, because what happens all the time is somebody will know every single word of the song, but when you put the microphone in front of their face, they'll freeze up, which does bring me some kind of strange, not nihilistic, like some strange kind of entertainment. I don't know, but I like it. I do like it even more when the person nails it and the whole crowd goes crazy. It's fun, but yeah, I feel like recently my show has kind of evolved into this place where in between the songs I'm doing like a sort of a stand-up comedy form of crowd work, where I try to get people involved, and then I end up learning people's names, and it just ends up being some chaos. Sometimes I let people talk. Like at my Santa Cruz show that happened. I can't remember which other one, but there's some shows where right off top you're like kind of talking to people in the crowd, and it gives some members of the crowd a little too much, like, oh, I'm allowed to talk? Cool. I won't shut the fuck up, and I'll make this entire thing about me. That happens a lot too. So like you get into weird territory when you start allowing the crowd to talk, and you can't really complain that they're talking if you're allowing them to talk. So you have to learn to deal with stuff like that. But I think it's fun, and it creates a good environment. And it creates an environment of, we're all here together, and the show's about all of us. It's not like you're just there, and I'm just singing the songs, and you're just there watching it, and there might as well be a fucking piece of that double-sided glass that they have at interrogation rooms or whatever. It's not like that. I mean, there's this thing when everybody gets together. This is us. Even at even at the movie theater, and why is it more interesting to watch it with a bunch of people? You hear them all laugh and you hear them all and all this shit, even something where you're not actually supposed to talk to the screen and interact with the actual thing. It's already like this group, we're all here together thing. So I like to further emphasize that. I like to be like, to make it a family affair. I've recently started doing this thing. I did it every show on the last tour that I did. Not every show. I started doing it the first show in Canada. I just instead of me walking on the stage and they play some kind of fucking, a lot of people when they enter the stage for the first song, and I used to do this too. You play some kind of like pump up the crowd music, like the Rocky theme song entrance, and it's like, yeah, you make your appearance, But now I like to have my guitar in my hand. I just like, for like 5 minutes, I walk through the crowd and give everybody a high five and say like, you ready to rock? We're gonna have a good time. Let's all have fun. You know what I'm saying? And it gets everybody in the mood that like, that's what we're there for. We're there to have a good time, and it's not really about what I'm doing. I'm not there to impress you. I'm there to just lead the feeling of fun. You know what I mean? So I just walk through the crowd for a while before I even start, just while they're playing the background music, and I just give people daps. That said, that's why I probably got sick on the fucking tour, because I'm just getting germs and germs and germs, Being real open like that with people will get you sick. If you're touching people, you're going to get germs, and unless you got like the best immune system of all time, germs lead to sickness. And that's all I've got for this week. I think that was the end of his, unfortunately, Rob. Wax and DJ Hoppa album coming soon. Let's go. Be safe out there.